definitely came back, wrestled Marky. That was actually supposed to be my last match, and I wasn't going to tell too many people, and I was kind of keeping it on the down low, but people ended up finding out. But that was supposed to be my last match, but I figure, you know what? I still got a couple more in me. I still got another year or two, maybe even, who knows how much longer I'm going to be around, but I definitely want to get a couple more years out of it because it's been a lot of fun, and it's just, I feel like if I were to stop wrestling, it was just kind of like, what would I do? Like, what hobby would I have that would just be wrestling has been such a defining thing about me. All my friends look at me as John the wrestler, and I don't know, it's just not something I want to stop, really. And it hit me hard when I realized that, I'm not supposed to be wrestling, or I'm never going to be wrestling again, but I just can't let that happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Global Backyard Wrestling Nation Podcast. The #1 backyard wrestling podcast on the internet, because it is the only backyard wrestling podcast on the internet. I mean, seriously, public access to the high school neighborhood orchestra has more views than us, okay? Either way, I am your host, Rad Hazard, here with another episode of the GBYWN podcast, and I know we have been having some trouble getting these episodes out. That is because, unfortunately, I didn't realize how much time it took to make one of these episodes, and one of these days I'm going to have to explain exactly what I have to do every single time to make one of these. But there's been a lot of personal issues going on in my life recently, and it's led to me having to take some time to get these things done, and I'll get to those personal issues as I go through the last couple of weeks. But first, I just want to say that I want to tell every single person who's been supporting me in my personal life recently, thank you. I appreciate it. I love you all. And that's the reason I got into backyard wrestling. It's the reason I moved from Las Vegas, Nevada to now Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, because I love the people I wrestle with and I get to hang out with at shows. And I love you guys. The GBYWN circuit is my family. So thank you to every single one of you. I love you all. Let's get into what happened 3 weekends ago. I wrestled at a show called EWA Payoff, where I was, as a part of the Killing with Kindness movement, the top heel faction of EWA. I wrestled Arkham in what was pretty much a comedy match. The entire match had the story of, I didn't want to be in it, because earlier in the show, I had announced a tournament, which may or may not happen now. Honestly, it just might not happen at all. I don't know. But the story behind it was I announced a tournament, so I didn't care about my match that day. I just wanted to get on with it and move on. So the entire match, which I will admit to you, I stole the idea from a New Era match between Sean O'Mora and The Perfection. But I essentially took the entire match to try to get myself disqualified in 100 different ways. Every single spot I did equaled some form of me trying to get disqualified, and Arkham, or the referee being a bumbling idiot, caused that to not happen until the very end of the match. It was a great story. I really enjoyed it, and it was executed well, and the only move I did in the entire match was the Dragon's Gate. Everything else had to do with me trying to use a weapon, trying to get counted out, trying to get DQ'd, trying to hit the ref, whatever the case may be. And Arkham's only moveset was the 6 Hall of Fame finishers from this year. Everything from the Ultimate Warrior Splash to Lita's Twist of Fate, Razor Ramon's Razor's Edge, even yelling, "I pity the fool," from Mr. T. That's his finisher, I suppose. And I really enjoyed the match. And here's the thing I want to say about the EWA is that everyone has noticed that these bigger shows, they have to run a quicker show. They have to run a faster show because they got more people there. They got to do more things. Everything is at a breakneck pace. I went to this payoff show, and it was essentially a normal, quote-unquote, show where everyone's just wrestling and having a decent time, and there was only maybe 5 matches maybe. So the pace was not as breakneck. Everyone got an opportunity to figure out their spots, and there was no terrible rush to get these matches over with because we had the whole day. And in that atmosphere, I loved the Elite Wrestling Association. I wish they did that for every single show, but unfortunately they can't. But I highly suggest if you go to an EWA show and it just happens to be one of the smaller ones, I dare say you will have a better time at that smaller show. You have a more playful atmosphere, a more free atmosphere, not as much tension, not as much of that breakneck pace. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed the EWA that weekend. I cannot tell you enough. So please, if you want to go to one of these shows, maybe I would suggest go to the smaller one. You might get a better booking, and you'll realize how much fun these shows are when there's not 50 million people running around with their heads cut off trying to figure out who's going to win the match. The weekend after that was supposed to be a huge weekend for me. It was something I was looking forward to for a while now, ever since I realized my birthday landed on a Saturday, which is, as far as I know, the first time that's happened in forever. Definitely the first time since I've become a wrestler. And I didn't care what Fed I went to. I was going to wrestle on my birthday. That's kind of like a goal of mine. And I don't know the next time that's going to happen, but that still is kind of a goal. It's a weird goal of mine that I just always wanted to wrestle on my birthday and make a storyline out of it being my birthday. And the booking that I got from 203 BYW was perfect. It was myself and Doc Holliday to take on the Kokujin Wrecking Crew Deluxe of Marcus Santafonte and Crucible Chris Ambrose. Oh, I love wrestling Crucible so much. I love it. I love wrestling Dawn. Dawn and I haven't had like a super serious match yet. So this might have been the way to go to get that match. For some reason, it's weird. It's like the second Dawn and I wrestle, we just kind of start screwing around. I don't know the last time I wrestled him, he hit me with a stunner and I gave him a rock bottom. It wasn't planned in the match at all. We just did it. So this was the opportunity to do that. It was I assume it was been the main event match. I really don't know, to be honest, now that I think about it. But either way, a huge match. I was so excited. The ideas were great. And it was going to be on my birthday. I was wrestling the Wrecking Crew on my birthday. Come on now. And unfortunately, the night before, my father collapsed in our apartment. He was recovering. I asked Mike Damage to come over. I picked him up, brought him back because we were going to take him to the healthcare clinic just to make sure that after the collapse he was okay and there was no internal injuries or broken bones or anything like that, because you can't really tell sometimes with my father. He's very stubborn with pain and things like that. And just as we were about to leave, he fell asleep, wouldn't wake up, just wouldn't wake up at all. Wouldn't wake up at all, which was so weird. So we called an ambulance. First time I've ever had to call the police for like 911 ever. And it's strange. But I mean, some cops showed up. Ambulance showed up very quickly. Thank goodness the hospital is literally 8 minutes away according to my GPS. So it was right around the corner. And he had some issues. He had some blood sugar and diabetes issues. And pretty much just kept fainting. So I'm so glad that we got him to the hospital, got him checked out. After 7 days, he was released from the hospital. He's back in my house now and doing great, and we got him some medication. And he's doing just fine, We always watch SmackDown together. We actually watched SmackDown in the hospital, in the ER, the Friday it happened. And then the very next Friday, we were in our house together watching SmackDown again. So all is well. I did unfortunately miss Connecticut, but you know, when something like that happens to your only living relative, on the male side. There's no reason not to stay and make sure he's okay and be with him as much as you can in the hospital. And I'm glad I was there for him, because the last time he was in the hospital, he was there for many, many months. I would want to say 4 months, and he was still in Las Vegas, so I couldn't visit him at all. So I wanted to make sure he knew I was here for him. And like I said earlier, the support from everyone on Facebook, old Las Vegas friends, people all across the world, giving me support, liking my messages. Just something as simple as liking one of my posts means so much to me when it's a serious message like something to do with my father. It shows support that I don't have anywhere else, to be honest. Like, there's no sister, there's no uncle or aunt I can call for support. So you people are my support. Make no mistake about that. And I thank you so much for that. Every single one of you that just even read it, thank you so much for that. So he recovered and got out the day before the next weekend, which we were going to have EWA Quest for the Gold tournament. And unfortunately, the ring was returned to the EWA yard with some sort of broken bolt, I believe. It just ruined the X cables to the ring, so there was no show. And instead, Patrick Wade Wilson and I went to a place called Cluck U and ate chicken till we got sick while watching the last couple of weeks of NXT. So it really wasn't a throwaway of a weekend at all. I had a blast doing that. I had a lot of fun, and I still look forward to the EWA Memorial Showdown because I still enjoy the Fed, and I cannot wait to keep going in my own personal storyline that I know about, and you don't. I'm not going to tell you, sorry. But when you do find out, I think you're going to enjoy it. If you get to see the footage, that is. Some of it's not online yet. But please consider going to the EWA and enjoy yourselves. Have a good time. And hey, maybe you'll get to hang out with me and wrestle me and eat some Cluck U chicken with us. How about that? But enough about me. Let's stop getting all mushy and sentimental. So here we go with your GBYWN event recap. February 22nd, 2014 in Massachusetts, hosted New Era, Homeward Bound, Day 1. Triple Threat Tag Team Action as Robbie Roberts and JD Static defeated the team of Jack Diesel and Killjoy and CJ Price and Vladimir Volkovsky. In the first round of the Champion of the Day tournament, Glenn defeated Ian Finnegan, the Perfection, and the GBYWN United States Tag Team Champion, Adam Burnett. Match number 2 in the Champion of the Day tournament, Sasha Nomura defeat the GBYWN World Tag Team Champion, Patrick Wade Wilson, the GBYWN United States Tag Team Champion, Andrew Sellers, and Ryan Rebel. Match number 3 in the Champion of the Day tournament saw Joey Tornado defeat Andrew Wright, Rad Hazard, and Zagan. And in your final match, in the first round of the Champion of the Day tournament, JC Penny defeated Marcus Santofonte, the GBYWN World Tag Team Champion, Daniel Devine, and the GBYWN World Pure Champion, Mike Damage. A singles attraction saw Chris Ambrose defeat Primetime. And in your main event of the evening, the Rust successfully defended the GBYWN United States Championship over Alex Cross. Who would have thunk it? New Era returning for what would be a reunion show in Massachusetts. Who would have thunk it? And not only that, we got to enjoy the Champion of the Day tournament. Essentially a fatal four-way tournament over the entire weekend. Not to mention the main event, the blow-off of the Russ-Alex Cross feud. Something that has been building up a New Era for nearly a year. A year in the making was New Era Homeward Bound. February 22nd, 2014 in Pennsylvania. Hosted 3BW. Back to the Future. In Queen Joey's Open Challenge, Big Juicy defeated the 3BW Femme Fatale Champion, Queen Joey. One-on-one, as CJ Riot defeated Todd Austin. Non-title action as the 3BW Survivor Champion, Nightmare Neil defeated Ajax. A tag team attraction saw Chris Blaze and Lawrence, the Scapegoats, defeat Nate Dallas and OC. With the stipulation that if Cody Morton won, he would earn a title shot for the 3BW Championship. Cody Morton and Warren Peace defeated Troy's Boys of the United States Hardcore Champion, Matt Scars, and the ACW Champion, Cameron Action. A tag team bout saw Instinct and TJ Epic, the Creed, defeat Mistress and Outlaw Star. A one-on-one bout saw Tyler Wolford defeat Joshua Wesker. Spartan Kingdom fell to the might of Big Sexy Venom. California Wildfire defeated the OCWS champion, Saint Vengeance. An elimination fatal four-way match saw Sonny Justice defeat Nico Diamonds, Rocco, and Vincent Cade. Cody Mortem defeated FX. And in your main event of the evening, a six-way elimination cover match saw Troy Allen successfully defend the 3BW Championship over Rick Johnson, Jimmy Spino, RJB, Harrison Sage, and the 3BW Survivor Champion, Nightmare Neil. 3BW kicking off the Backyard Wrestling season with a bang. A cover match, essentially an elimination chamber match without the chamber. All the men handcuffed around the ring, including great matches like Cody Mortem and FX, Big Sexy Venom destroying Spartan Kingdom. This is something to check out. This might be the future of Backyard Wrestling, seeing it right here. Perhaps the NXT of the GBYWN? Who knows? Either way, it's definitely 3BW. Check out what the future might have in store for you. February 23rd, 2014 in Massachusetts. Hosted New Era, Homeward Bound, Day 2. The opening Fatal 4-Way attraction saw The Rush successfully defend the GBYWN United States Championship over Ryan Rebel, Vladimir Volkovsky, and Rad Hazard. A six-man tag team spectacular saw Killjoy, Zagan, and Jack Diesel defeat Andrew Wright, the Perfection, and the GBYWN World Tag Team Champion, Daniel Devine. The finals of the Champion of the Day tournament saw Sean O'Mora defeat Primetime, Joey Tornado, and Robbie Roberts to become the Champion of the Day. JD Static defeated the GBYWN World Pure Champion, Mike Damage, the GBYWN World Tag Team Champion, Patrick Wade Wilson, and Alex Cross. And in your main event of the evening, the Flamboys, Adam Burnett and Andrew Sellers, successfully defended the GBYWN United States Tag Team Championship over the Kokogen Wrecking Crew Deluxe, Marcus Santafonte and Chris Ambrose. When you talk about matches that take place at certain shows, specific matches that will always remind you of a great event, nothing this year has hit as hard as the Flamboys and the Wrecking Crew. A fantastic showcase of tag team wrestling in the main event of a great super show. I will never forget that tag team match, and thanks to that, I will never forget all the other great exciting action from New Era Homeward Bound Day 2. February 25th, 2014 in the United Kingdom, hosted RCWA Resistance Episode 48. Tag team competition as Andy Andrews and Omega Bill defeated Jen Catastrophe and Harley Davis. And in your main event of the evening, Dick Manwich defeated Mason Ryder. Resistance continues to showcase the lower card and the future of the RCWA. And let me tell you folks, the future is looking brighter with every Resistance episode. February 27th, 2014 in the United Kingdom, hosted RCWA Chaos Restored. For the vacated RCWA Internet TV Championship, Ark Howlett defeated the GBYWN World Champion, Sam Jude. Omega Bill and Andy Andrews defeated the RCWA Tag Team Champions, Rise Wood and Ash Draven. A last man standing match saw Will Ospreay defeat Tim Lee. One-on-one as Ash Draven defeated LVG. And in your main event of the evening, the RCWA Champion, Sean Wilson defeated Brian Killjoy. The very first RCWA Supercard of the year hosted fantastic showcases in both tag team wrestling and singles wrestling, including a new Internet TV champion, a shocker in Ark Howlett, the man who couldn't get the job done against Sam Jude for that GBYWN World title, finally able to do it to capture the television championship, as well as the main event, Sean Wilson and Brian Killjoy, finally culminating their feud here at Chaos Restored.
Rad Hazard, I'm telling you to a humble match. You challenged him to a homo match.
But I'm not a homo. You are. And say, dude, your ass when you come in November, your ass is dead. We winning that belt back. And St. Vincent's gonna take it away from you.
St. Vincent's is winning the belt from Sam Jude in November.
What about Marky? Yes! I'm the champion here. So that's what we got to say. Peace out, Main Event Mafia.
Alright, enough of the bullshit! I know you're not here for this. I know you don't care about these recaps right now. You're hyped for other things. Maybe some other things like the interview with the BXW Champion. Are you hyped? Are you? You should be. Because this is part 3 of our interview with the one and only Johnnyboy. Let's do this. So let's say we're going into 2012 now.
Yeah.
Is there anything that really sticks out in 2012 for you? Because you were the Mid-Atlantic champion for a good part of that.
Yeah, I lost that in a triple threat with Chris Irvin and Showtime, which that match was kind of, it was weird because we had a lot of top rope spot plans and the X cables underneath the ring had broken for that match, so that really threw off our groove, because a lot of spots didn't come out nearly as crisp as they would have had the ring been in, the condition that it's normally in. But the ropes were very saggy at that time, and we had no choice other than to just continue and go with the match. And it definitely didn't turn out the way I had envisioned it, but it wasn't my worst match.
Right.
But
do you remember your worst match? Was it that indie match? What was it?
It was, oh my god, it could have been that tag match at EWA. That's definitely up there as one of my worst matches. I also had
because I've had surprisingly good 1-minute matches before, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah. No, that Maryland match probably does take the cake, though. That was probably one of my worst matches. Oh no, I actually did. No, that's not true. Who were they? They were like from the city, like New York. These two kids, and it was me and Justin. Okay. It was supposed to be Team ETTW.
Oh,
and it was
WCW guys.
Yeah.
Do you remember who they were? What they looked like?
I don't remember, but all I know is
Okay.
We did not do too well at all.
I think WCW showed up to EWA like twice, maybe.
Yeah.
And they came and did some stuff, and it was like, okay.
Yeah, no, definitely not one of my prouder matches. So I also had a pretty bad match with Mike Williams too.
Well, that's not hard to do.
Yeah, I've actually had 2 pretty bad matches with Mike Williams. Now I think about it. One was actually it was like JWC or one of their
JWA.
No, it was not. It wasn't JWA, but it was one of their like random shows, and I had actually gone to it because I was in Belmar for some reason, and it was not too far from there. So me and my cousin were there, and I wrestled Mike Williams, and I gave him a Yoshi tonic off the side of the base, and he ended up just kind of falling on me. I think I bruised a couple ribs after that, but that match was pretty bad. Sorry if you're listening, Mike, but not one of my favorite matches.
Mike said a lot worse in his last interview, so I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mike Damage, I mean. So I'm sure Mike Williams can handle not having a great match with you.
Yeah. So
that sucks.
Those are definitely some of my I would say my top 3 worst matches.
Is there anyone you've ever wanted to wrestle you just didn't have the opportunity to?
Here at BXW, I think I've really wrestled just about everybody.
Yeah.
And I've had, I've had a couple bad matches with some people, but I've had some really good matches. Like, I love my match with Chris back in, 2010, so we're definitely due for a rematch. Same with Mike. I've wrestled Mike about twice, and the first match was pretty good, but I really enjoyed our most recent match. Marky, Rad, I've wrestled you, I've wrestled, Chris Blaze even. I've only wrestled him once, but I enjoyed that match. Adam Bolt Burnett. I've never had a singles with Sellers. He's somebody I'd like to wrestle one-on-one.
I'll have to keep that in mind then.
Yeah, and a couple other people who are frequent. I've had Patrick Wade Wilson in a one-on-one, but that wasn't at BXW. Same with Drake Genocide and all of those guys. So yeah, there's really nobody I haven't wrestled at BXW. I would like to say I actually want to wrestle Troy from 3BW. I feel like he'd be a lot of fun to wrestle with. Same with who else?
Well, I'm sure if you went to a 3BW show, Troy would probably work you in somewhere eventually.
Definitely. Yeah, and also Anarchy Andy, even though that's kind of like a big name to just throw out, but he always will come up to me and be like, John Boy, I want to wrestle you. I'm like, Andy, I know, but I'm not ready.
I hear that a lot.
I need to be at my prime to wrestle you, Andy.
Yeah,
But-
Andy wrestles here like once a year, and
Yeah,
it's always like
exactly.
it always becomes a thing where it's like, all right, who's gonna wrestle him?
Yeah,
and there's
no.
just kind of like, I don't know, who's ready?
Yeah, he tells me if I go to XTW, I'll definitely get a match with him one of these times, but it's a trip, and I'm not really gonna be traveling too much
Yeah.
in the future. So, but no, I still will be around. I'll always be around. But
All right, well, let's jump into 2013 then. Last year, what were the big highlights for you? Obviously winning the title, but I mean, what else were you really excited about last year?
well, 2013 was kind of a down year for me. I had gotten a massive blood clot in my left leg.
Yeah, explain that, because I'm sure a lot of people are kind of confused on it.
Yeah, so basically what happened was I had a massive blood clot. My leg just swelled up out of nowhere, and it was after I did wrestle a few weeks beforehand at ETTW. We were really into that, doing storyline stuff, and but that wasn't the cause of it. And I had stopped wrestling about 3 weeks later. My leg just swelled up like a balloon out of nowhere, and I went to the doctors. They told me it was from a pulled muscle, and I just bed rested. It went away, and then it came back a couple of weeks later, and I had gone to the ER then, and they told me I had a massive blood clot all down my left leg.
Jeez.
They were almost gonna do surgery. Then they did another test and realized that it had broken off and went into my lungs, and they were actually pretty surprised that I was breathing as well as I was. They were, always ask me, do you have a pain in your chest, or are you short of breath, because you're close to having a stroke. So I actually felt fine, really, but they then also did a couple tests and realized that I have a mix of blood clotting genetic disorders, and my blood is 16 times more likely to clot than a normal person.
Wow. So it's hereditary.
Yeah, it's hereditary, but it's really I don't think it was one major thing in my family. It was just kind of the chance that my mom and dad both had these two minor genetic flaws, and then they met and made me, which is like a mutant.
No,
I guess.
You're like Scott Steiner. You're the new genetic freak.
Yeah, right. But so I have to take blood thinners from now until the day I die.
Wow.
And definitely not a fun thing to take. I experience a lot of weird side effects that you don't get when taking normal medicines. Like I get really dizzy very easily when I'm on that. Cold. I get drunk very easily too. I'm not even supposed to be drinking, but fuck that. Same with wrestling. I'm not. They literally told me you're never going to be able to do anything very much past running and golf ever again. So I said, screw you guys. I just stopped taking my medicine like right before. But the reason I can't drink alcohol is because it's a blood thinner. So I always make sure I have a couple beers after I'm done wrestling, and each night where I stop taking my medicine. So I figure it kind of thins me out.
Nice. So you're like the only person in all of wrestling who needs to drink after their match.
Yeah.
Like literally needs to.
Pretty much. Yeah, no, it's definitely a thing. But the risk with wrestling on the medication that I'm on is basically if I were to get a concussion for some reason, that that's basically your brain is bleeding, and I would just uncontrollably bleed out until either I have some sort of, I don't even know what would happen, but not trying to really know what would happen, so playing it safe, and I stop taking my medicine before I wrestle. I figure, I've gone 20 years without having a blood clot. I'm sure not taking my medicine for 3 or 4 days isn't gonna hurt me that bad, but it definitely cut down the length that my career is gonna last for. I'm definitely gonna stop a lot earlier than I would have if I didn't have this condition.
Yeah.
So.
Well, rightfully so, man. I mean, your health is your number one priority. There's a life after wrestling, You want to make sure you're okay to do it.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, man, that's sad. So, what a downer. But hey, good news. You came back, right?
Yeah. Hell yeah. Come back. Definitely came back, wrestled Marky. That was actually supposed to be my last match, and I wasn't going to tell too many people, and I was kind of keeping it on the down low, but people ended up finding out. But that was supposed to be my last match, but I figure, you know what? I still got a couple more in me. I still got another year or two, maybe even, who knows how much longer I'm going to be around, but I definitely want to get a couple more years out of it because it's been a lot of fun, and it's just, I feel like if I were to stop wrestling, it was just kind of like, what would I do? Like, what hobby would I have that would just like be like, wrestling has been such a defining thing about me. All my friends look at me as, oh, John the wrestler, and I don't know, it's just not something I want to stop, really, and it hit me hard when I realized that, I'm not supposed to be wrestling, or I'm never going to be wrestling again, but I just can't let that happen.
No, I feel you, man. I really do. Like, you brought up a great point. Like, what does a wrestler do when they're not wrestling anymore? Like, it's obviously it's a hobby and blah 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 blah. We'll get all that out of the way, but like it becomes such a normal part of your life. It's
right?
Like, it's almost like not watching movies anymore, or not whatever you do, riding bikes, whatever it is.
And it's really been like, it's such a good, I would say, just stress reliever.
Oh yeah.
As a kid, like I had pretty bad, I guess, anger issues, and my mom would always tell me, John, you're so angry, and my grandma would be like, you gotta get rid of your rage. But wrestling just helped me, channel all of that, and school and work is just so stressful, and I think everybody can agree with that. They go to work each and every day, and they just do the same exact thing. But it's like, what? Now it's Saturday, and I have a match to plan with this guy, and we can do crazy shit we want to do. We can beat the living shit out of your opponent and get away with it, and then afterwards you're best friends. So it's a win-win. You get to let some of that inner stress and anger out, and it's all good.
It's like a real life Fight Club.
Exactly. Hey, that's what I was just about to say. It's like Fight Club, but but not as intense. Well, it can be.
Can be if you want it to be.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine you with any anger issues.
Yeah.
You seem like such a happy guy all the time.
Exactly why wrestling has helped me.
Yeah, I can't imagine you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna retire for whatever, and then like 2 years later I see you and you're just like the angriest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine that.
Yeah. No, it definitely is not gonna get like that. I've grown out of it a lot, really, but Definitely a good thing to be a part of, and I'm really happy that I've been wrestling as long as I have.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're around, dude. Bringing the fun. That's what I'm saying. But I don't know, man. I don't know about how long you can last and all that kind of stuff. I hope you can keep going as long as you want to.
Definitely.
That's the big thing is like what happened with Doug and stuff. I don't want to bring up negative things, but I always feel bad about people who just, they have to stop when they have to stop before they want to.
Right.
You know, and it's really sad to see that.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, Doug was a good friend of mine. I actually had a match with him.
He's still
a
great friend, you know.
Really loved.
Yeah.
You know, I hope he comes around to shows still because.
Yes.
You know.
That's the one thing.
Gonna miss him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, even for me, if I got injured in some way, I would have to still keep coming to the shows.
Yeah.
Like, just to be a part of it.
Exactly.
Because, you know, it's built into what I do now in life.
Yeah, definitely. It's become a part of who I am.
Yeah, it's so corny.
I know,
but
right?
it's true. It's weird. But, yeah. All right. So, yeah, I mean, that kind of brings us to where we are now. I mean, it's 2014. You're the BXW champ. You're on top of the mountain, man. You're main eventing our shows now, and
yeah,
you know, everyone was loving it. I'm loving it.
Hell yeah.
I mean, how you feel about that? I don't want to make it sound like it's all super serious and stuff. I mean, how you feel? Because I've seen your starting matches, you know, on that base with Justin Henry and stuff, and
yeah,
and then you start here at BXW, and you're one of the guys where, you know, you weren't here at the beginning, so you weren't like the champ.
Right.
In the third show in or whatever.
Yeah.
You weren't in the main event story. You were one of the first guys to kind of... You're the rookie. And then the next year you win the mid-card belt. And the next year you're number one contender. And the next year you're the main eventer. So you were one of the few guys in BXW to do the full circle.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Like, how does that feel to go through that journey?
Well, it's pretty rewarding. You know, it's not something that I feel like... You know, I never really feel... as if I'm, you know, like entitled to anything. Like I never be like, oh, like this belt, like I got because, you know, I performed better than anybody else or anything like that. It's just kind of like, you know, it's something that just kind of just happened, I guess. You know, like I don't really know.
Do you feel like you're continuing to have fresh? You know, like everything stays fresh because you're moving up and wrestling different people all the time, and
yeah,
like that kind of thing. And you're wrestling the same people from before, but they're getting better as well. Like,
yeah,
do you feel the evolution?
True. I would say Mike is definitely the biggest example of that. When I wrestled him the very first time, which was probably back like 2010, I would say. Yeah, it was a good match, but it wasn't anything nearly like our second match, which, you know, was just awesome. And same with just watching him. He's definitely one of the best, like, drastic improvements I've seen in backyard wrestling. He started off, you know, it was just kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm just doing this for fun, but, you know, now he's actually really, really good. And if Mike ever wanted to go anywhere past the yard, I feel like he's definitely one of the people that could do so.
Yeah. Because
he's got such a good mic talent. And he's got such in-ring charisma, and he can really make it look like an actual fight. Mm-hmm. That's what he's really good at. He
brings the shoot fight.
Yeah,
to the match.
You know,
I wouldn't be surprised if Mike popped up somewhere.
Yeah,
you know, on the indie sticks, get a couple matches somewhere. You know, got a feel for it.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Definitely.
Do you like? Who do you think would go pro in the future? Do you like, if you heard, oh, this guy's going pro, I'm gonna check him out? Like, is there anybody right now that I would even say looking forward to or something? Because now you've done the full transition from rookie to one of our top guys.
Right.
Do you see, you know, maybe DeMorris going pro?
Oh, like, yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
the first name that comes to mind is Matt DeMorris. That he would definitely go pro. And I'm like, I always tell him, hey, someday when you're on WWE, can I get your autograph? And he just laughs. He's just like, someday, or whatever he always answers with. He has a different answer every time. So I could see him, maybe even TKO. They definitely could go pro. Yeah. And like I said, Mike definitely I could definitely see him ending up somewhere and being a name. Same with also Adam Bolt Burnett. He's also made a huge improvement. I wrestled him back when he was Kyle Bolt with the mask, and I remember teaching him how to do a hip toss before our match, because that was one of the things. And he had thought it, same way you grab them from the pants and just throw them and make it look like you tossed their hip.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you lock arms like this, yeah, and thinking back to then how, new he was, and then now how great he is. He's another really, really talented wrestler, and he's just gotten so good over the years that I could definitely see him going somewhere. Mm-hmm. And he's got the passion and the desire to do it, so he can definitely go places.
So you've helped out guys throughout the years, like improve and stuff like that.
I do what I can. I wouldn't say that I was like some sort of like oracle of wrestling knowledge, but anything I think, this might help him out, I'll give him a tip or two, but
Did anybody do that for you? Like, where'd you learn most of your moves?
I definitely learned pretty much everything I know from both Matt and Danny. Those two really taught me a lot. I had really gone to ETTW, not really knowing much of anything, and same with when I first came to BXW, I didn't know anything. Just kind of went out and just did moves,
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I saw this guy do this on TV or in SmackDown versus Raw, so
yeah,
I'll give it a try. I'd do it, and I would even go like kind of like shopping for moves. I would go through the game and go through all of their
I did
their
the
move
exact same
sets.
thing.
I feel like everybody's done that.
Yeah.
And then I got to, when I went to ETTW, they really said one day, all right, you're going to come over and we're going to train you. And we had all day. We went through the steps of a match, learned how to do arm drags and, all the basic stuff. And he really taught me everything that he said Danny had taught him. And then I even learned a lot from Danny too. So between the two of them, I would say they're definitely the two that taught me everything.
Okay.
So...
Do you have any memorable matches you've seen over the years? Anything really leaves an impression with you? Live or not?
There's so many. That's such a... I would say...
Like, when I say backyard wrestling to you, what jumps into your brain immediately?
Backyard wrestling. I really... well, that one video, who made that? It had the one My Chemical Romance song, and it was just like a crazy like compilation of all backyard wrestling from like 2006 on.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm talking
about? The best
about?
of backyard wrestling.
The best of backyard wrestling.
Yeah, Mike and I love.
I love that video. That definitely comes to one of the first ones that comes to my mind. Same with I'd actually say a lot of Steve's matches. Phoenix or Folkland, whatever he's calling himself nowadays. Names. But no, he definitely comes to mind a lot when I think of backyard wrestling, because he's just always, he's always doing something insane that's just like, I feel like would be like the front page of like a backyard wrestling magazine would be Steve doing something insane, like breathing fire, or like going through a table of like fire, whatever, I don't know. And then same with like his match with Zayn. That's definitely like one of, I feel like that's a defining match of backyard wrestling. Like it just sums up, everything. He had his whole career, and it ended with those two in this crazy end battle. I can only hope that my end match is anywhere near as epic as that match was, because that match was pretty epic.
Yeah, I feel like at least on a personal level, that was the most emotional match I've ever seen. Yeah, like live.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was emotional.
Yeah, I teared up a little bit at the end of it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think we all did, for real. I think I was like the first or second guy to hug Zayn like right after the match. I was really emotional about it.
Yeah.
But well, let's talk about you're moving on in your career and stuff. What kind of thing in your head do you think you want to do before you hang it up? Is there any like last goal? Whether it be a match, title, go to a certain show, anything really. Is there anything where you're like, I gotta do this before I'm done?
I did have like I want to do more table spots. I feel like I definitely want to do more like crazy shit.
You like a hardcore style? You want to?
Yeah, I definitely did want to have a hardcore match, and I don't know how that would go with my whole blood thing, because I feel like if I were to blade, it would just like gush everywhere. But
that's why you win the hardcore match.
Yeah, I definitely want to have like some sort of hardcore match before I hang it up. That's definitely on my to-do list, and I know like you wouldn't really think that of me. Like, I've never really done that much hardcore stuff, but it's definitely like on my to-do list. Now, I mean, I don't want to take any like staples to the head or anything, but
Yeah,
I do want to do some sort of stuff, you know.
Okay. Yeah, well, I felt the same way about Marky. Like, I never thought of Marky as a hardcore guy. Next thing you know, he's getting thrown into barbed wire.
Right?
last year,
Yeah.
You know?
I would totally do barbed wire. I don't know if I'd do like a face bump in barbed wire, but I would totally take a back bump, you know, land in some barbed wire.
Nice.
Get a little cut up, be like, ah.
Good sell. Good sell.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would do it too.
All right. Do you have anyone in mind for your last match? We're just speculating.
I was thinking about that. I that's such a hard thing to say now because I want to have it with Marky, but I've wrestled Marky so many times, and I mean, depending on when it is, and I was also even possibly thinking that my last match be a triple threat with Marky and Matt because they're probably my two best friends in backyard wrestling that I've known the longest and always have been there.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while it was Justin Henry, but I don't know. No offense, Justin, if you're listening, but
He just swerved off the road again.
yeah, you've moved on. So I
know
really don't
it's tough. I'm just speculating, you know.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to say right now, but I would say probably either Marky or Matt. One of the two.
Would you want to do it here? Like, so let's say BXW shut down. Would you do it somewhere else, or how would you go down with the ship?
Yeah, I'd probably have my last match with BXW at that point in time, unless, you know, it was like one of those things where it's like BXW's ending but BXW 2 is starting like 2 weeks later.
Oh, yeah.
I would be like, all right, or like if you guys just move or whatever happens,
Yeah, or
if something,
reunion shows
yeah,
or whatever.
if there's a reunion show, I'll definitely come and wrestle. But like, yeah, I would say if BXW's ending and it's just kind of like there's no more wrestling within like a 40-mile radius, I'll probably hang it up.
Fair enough.
So.
All right, well, is there any last thing on your mind? I mean, we've been talking for a while. Is anything jumping out you just kind of want to mention or throw out throughout your life, you know? Because, I mean, you know, you got into this crazy thing. You met a lot of crazy people.
Oh,
It sounds like your first couple of years were real rough. With people like getting their asses kicked.
I paid my dues, and everybody else has too. So.
You paid dues before you knew what dues were.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even know I was paying my dues. I was just kind of doing it. I was like, whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. Just wrestling is one of those things where it's just kind of like everybody that's around you is, you know, kind of in the same situation but different at the same time. It's like we each all come here and we have this one thing in common that, you know, we like to beat the shit out of our friends in a wrestling ring and film it and then post it on YouTube. It's just like it sounds weird, and, you know, I've gotten made fun of like, oh, you guys are freaking gay for doing this. You're just touching guys. You're grabbing their freaking balls and slamming them on the ground. But no, it's definitely like a brotherhood almost. It's like we all come, we have this thing in common, and then we each go off to our separate lives. And some people are doing, you know, music on the side. Some people are running businesses or taking care of people or, you know, programming computers or being engineers. There's just a lot of different personalities in wrestling, but we all have that one thing in common that just brings us all together. And it's definitely a great time.
Wow, that's the ending to an interview if I've ever heard one. That's pretty iconic right there.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that is the BXW Champion Johnnyboy.
JB out.
JB out there. I was going to ask him for his final word. I think he just gave it to us.
Yep.
JB out.
Cowabunga.
I love me some Johnnyboy. What a great guest. What a great person. One of the nicest people I've ever met in backyard wrestling. So nice, so honest. I mean, there isn't a mean bone in that man's body. He is just pure nice. I love that dude. Johnnyboy is the man. If you ever have the opportunity to hang out with Johnnyboy, do not pass up on that opportunity. Do you hear me? Sorry, guys. I'm getting a little ranty over here because our next segment's about to come up. You know what? Let's just get to it. This is a thing only a Mark would complain about. You want to know what grinds my gears? I'll tell you exactly what grinds my gears. A little something I like to call the death of the long-term feud. Long-term feud. Do you even know what that means? You know what I'm talking about at all? Any idea? What's long-term to you? What is long-term to you? Was it a week? Month? Maybe a year? Maybe a year? Let me tell you something. What are your favorite matches in backyard wrestling? Some of your favorites. I mean, did you like Mike Damage versus Chris Urban? Did you like that? Is that a good one? Enjoy that? What about Radical Movement Elite versus the Stepdads TLC match? Did you like that one? Is that a good one? How about we go a couple years back to Ryan Ragnarok versus Daniel Devine, PKM2. Do you remember that match? Daniel Devine getting his nose all bloodied up. Do you remember that? How about my match from PKM2 against Patrick Wade Wilson? A match where I walked in to BXW for the very first time and wrestled in the main event day one. Now I know nobody cared about our match. They probably thought it was gonna be shit, and I do not blame them. But the only reason anybody even knew we were feuding, the knowledge that we were in a rivalry and feud and storyline at the time, which, believe it or not, is more than a lot of these guys are getting now, just the knowledge that these guys are feuding, is the little thing I like to call long-term storytelling. Mike Damage and Chris Urban battled neck and neck for a year and a half in their long-term story that ended up having two incredible matches back-to-back at PKM. Everyone remembers those matches, but the feud, remembering the entire feud, builds that match up so much more than the sum of its parts. Danny Devine and Ryan Ragnarok, a tag team who had been, I would say, the most over tag team in backyard wrestling at that point for quite a while, faced off in what was a beautiful blow-off to their tag team feud. And I gotta tell you, without the build-up from all that time as a team, loving their matches together, to watch them finally break up, truly magical. And I go back to that match all the time. Great series of matches between all those people I just said. And yeah, I'll put myself in there too. I guess I just accidentally promoted my own shit. Doesn't matter. Long-term storytelling is a lost art in backyard wrestling. I know you bookers. I know what you're doing. Every month, you try to tie things in the last month, sorta, kinda, but you're worried, we can't have the same guy wrestle 2 shows in a row. Well, we can't do that. What are we gonna do? You gotta think about the big picture. And I'm not talking about the big picture of a heel run. One heel run, we're gonna make this guy the champ, and he's gonna hold the title for a long time and take on all these guys. I'm talking about a feud. A long-term feud where you build up 2 men separately but equally to take on and inevitably clash with each other, and the fans know it's going to happen. It's not something that in retrospect, you go, oh, well, you could see these guys were coming along together all along. You gotta plan that stuff. If you plan it, it becomes so much better. You plan these two parallel, separate journeys, ultimately crossing into what will be, I guarantee you, will be a beautiful blow-off. I've yet to see a blow-off that didn't have some form of epic conclusion with the help of long-term storytelling. Even myself and Mike Damage, our very first meeting was about 4 months after we had started feuding. I used a real-life event, like having all my YouTube videos deleted, as the catalyst to that feud, and during that time he would quote-unquote hack my Facebook, and we would go back and forth on Twitter and Facebook, just yelling at each other, just showing superiority over each other, and delivering a storyline between two men with completely different views finally clashing in the ring. And the build up to that, it didn't start with, oh, we're gonna wrestle, so now let's feud. It built up as, I have a different mindset than you. And then it went from there to arguing about that, and then ultimately to, well, why don't we wrestle? Well, why don't you put your title on the line? Alright, well, why don't we do it at goodbye? And then done. And it took 4 months to make that natural progression into that feud. And that's what's missing in a lot of this backyard wrestling booking, the natural progression of two men going at it in the ring in a huge event. That's really what makes the Super Show super. I get that you want to make your dream matches, and that's an aspect of it. But a dream match in itself has a long-term feud built in. When you think of two guys, oh man, if only this guy and this guy wrestled. And that's a known thing. Everyone wants that. And everyone's been thinking about it for months and months and months, maybe years. Maybe even years. You have something there. It's not two men just walking in and making care with their moves. You walk in, you hear their music, and you're already pumped for this match. This is already awesome. We need more of that in backyard wrestling. And it doesn't have to be just the names. In fact, I would say long-term storytelling builds new stars. Not lying. I believe that long-term storytelling is the key to building new stars. Because what is one match? What is one match against somebody when you can have a series of storylines, of chapters, going from this nobody into kind of being somebody, into being equal, into being better. The build-up. It's all about the build-up. Would the final fight in Rocky have meant anything to you if you just watched the fight at the end? Would it have mattered at all? You might have cared. You might have been able to relate a little bit to the Sylvester Stallone character just from the actions and how he's struggling to go to this draw. But to watch the entire build-up, the long-term storytelling between them, and you really see how much that match, that boxing fight, really matters in the end. And that is a story, that is a movie, a showcase, a play about sports, just like wrestling. And that's why I compare those two subjects. It's fine and dandy to put a couple guys together and say, oh, here's our new heel faction. Our long-term story is that they just dominate people. That's great. But what about everybody else? When I was booking, it was all about putting everybody over. You want to put as many people over as possible. And when they lose, you can still put them over that way too. Because when they lose, I want you to lose in a way that makes people want you to come back and do everything again. And win this time. And win! The ending of the first Rocky was a draw. A lot of people seem to forget that. I feel like draws in backyard wrestling are so much more entertaining than just one guy being another guy and nobody caring. I want to see the struggle in this feud, the struggle between two wrestlers. And if they happen to go to a draw or a double countout or whatever the case may be, it just shows that frustration for both of them to fight that much more. And even if the next match somebody beats the other one clean, it doesn't matter. They've already pushed each other to another level of wrestling that I would be pretty honest to say that I would say we never see in wrestling these days. At least not in backyard wrestling. I want to see these men struggle. I want to see their story as they try to better themselves. And at the end of the day, I feel like if you get to the end of that story and you lose the big one, you're still more over than you were when you started, because people got to see that you became a better person and a better wrestler in kayfabe than you ever were at the beginning of that long-term feud. And as long as you're always building yourself up, you will be more over than before. But that comes from storytelling. Not everyone is a wrestling technician. Not everyone can be a mechanic. Not everyone can be a spot monkey. I know I can't. I can't do any of that. I do a moonsault and almost break my neck every time. So I rely on storytelling. My high spots are the climaxes of the story. I want to make you think. I want to make you remember, oh, this happened earlier, now this is happening. It's a build-up. Just like any type of move would be a build-up to something bigger and bigger and bigger, my storytelling will do the same. Every booker needs to look at their roster and think about that long-term storytelling. Give your roster something to look forward to. Give them something to look forward to enjoy and go, well, even if this match wasn't so great, next one will be even better. And I know what's coming in the future, and I'm excited for that. If you can get someone excited for something 6 months down the line, guess what? They're going to be excited all the way through. They're going to do whatever you need them to do to get to that exciting point in that 6-month period. And you know what that allows you? That allows you time to book other people in other ways, to book them over. If a man like Mikey Whipwreck could lose every single match for 2 years and be more over than some of their top draws, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It matters that the storyline grabs the audience and grabs the wrestler as well. Make no mistake about it, we are our own biggest fans. And we want the best storyline and the best matches for ourselves. We do. Now, the best match might be different for each one of us, and that's how we get along in the end. But nobody walks in expecting to look like a jobber. And I dare say, losing a match doesn't make you a jobber. Even winning can make you look like a jobber sometimes, depending on how you win. I want everyone to look over. I want everyone to have a good time. I want everyone looking forward to the future of their Fed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what long-term feuds, long-term storytelling, looking at the entire season as one book, with each show being a different chapter. That's what that does for your Fed. It shows clarity. It gets people excited for the next chapter of your story. It gets the roster excited for the future, which makes them work harder now for that big build-up later. And it gets your viewers more engaged because they know that if they keep watching, they will be invested and that they will be ultimately rewarded for watching that show and getting to that blow-off and the end of that long-term feud and getting excited for the next one, the next long-term feud, the next season. It keeps things fresh. And guess what? It keeps things innovative because I do not want to see the death of long-term storytelling, of long-term feuding in backyard wrestling. Because I think it's better for everyone to have something to look forward to. Do you not agree? I mean, it's just one guy, one rant, and one thing only a mark would complain about.
I got the biggest boner for science.
Alright folks, we have reached the end of the line. This is it for this episode of the GBYWN podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Johnnyboy. I hope you enjoyed our little recap and the rant of the show. And I will leave you with our sounds of backyard wrestling, as well as a little advertisement from yours truly, Awkward Rad Hazard. In the meantime, I will see you hopefully sooner than I have in recent weeks. But either way, I'm Rad Hazard, and we will see you here on the GBYWN podcast. People that Faceless Frank here with Crazy Pete. Your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts? Let me tell you something about my thoughts. They seem to not matter around here because no one ever listens. But you, Frank? Oh, I could shout it from the rooftops or sit here on the ground and just state it clearly. But I think I want to put it together in song. I saw a lot of wrestlers today that are living, and I just thought that maybe it'd be better off if I brought back some of my childhood and some of the wrestlers that aren't so living anymore, because they're just so much more entertaining than the crap I saw here today. I mean, I literally sat here on LSD today and was not having fun.
Not entertained. You bring the entertainment.
I mean, I will get to the bottom of this entertainment problem. I will. And I think I'm going to start like this. Why aren't there very many songs about wrestlers and all of the ways they've died? I'd say it's because it's not very becoming. They all die at 35. I remember Bam Bam Bigelow. Figaro, he was my fat hero. But he ended up like Chris Farley out the Super 8 hotel, overdosing face down. Then there's Macho Man, the old Macho King. He ran the ring near and far, but God rained down on him and blasted his heart and crashed him in his car. He was nothing without Elizabeth anyway. Verse 2. You know what? I'm gonna change it up a little bit here, because that was goddamn depressing. I mean, I'm bugging out right now. If I was on a roof, I probably would jump. Macho, I love you, baby. What can I say? C4? There's something dead in him, too. I know what it is. It's that charisma. Primetime has got to be the most bipolar kid I've ever met in my life. Give him a Xanax. Danny Devine, it started to wet his pants. Period. Andrew Wright, taller than ever. Hey, I'm staying on his good side. I'm staying on his good side, Frank. I'm trying to get that title match, you know? Who are all those people laughing at me? I'm going crazy.
Pete!
What? Stop it!
Picho.
It must be all this stuff I've been smoking. Jesus, get a hold of yourself, man.
Bring the entertainment.
The iconic, ironic wrestling circus is at it again, and Barnum and Bailey's, presented by No-Show PJ Matthews. One thing I'll say, great when PJ Matthews doesn't show, Paul Destry doesn't show. Package deal, so we'll take our wins with our losses. We'll count it as a equal. +1 -1, equal. Hell, if I never saw Destry again, I'd be a happier man than I was today.
Not possible.
It's pretty possible. I wasn't very happy today.
Why
The
was
only thing
that?
that makes me chuckle is when Doc Holliday comes out, because I love seeing Smurfs on ice. When he gets in there with C4, that's a meeting of two giants, let me tell you. That matchup from weeks ago, they moved at a snail's pace. They should have had James Earl Jones commentating, and then I could have gone to bed and gotten some Z's. It's about as entertaining as A&E.
You don't like A&E, Pete?
I like A&E sometimes. Duck Dynasty.
Any other
Speaking of ducks and sauce, Hiroki Kuroda, you show your face on my show, I speak to you in a language you can understand. Well, what is he?
The peanut gallery?
He's a foreigner, that's for sure. I've narrowed it down. He's not from this country. I stole his hat, and next week, I'm gonna steal his pride. I'm gonna pull the sword out of the stone and shove it right up his ass. Let's put it that way.
That's not an Asian myth. That's old Britain.
I don't know what kind of mind games he's playing over here with that accent. Say,
Another verse?
If I keep going, they're gonna change it to Pete Show. The Pete Show. So we gotta cut this off, Frank. Go play with yourself or something. This is the entertainment. Leaving the building.
And now we'll be back.
Hi, this is Backyard Wrestling Superstar, Rad Hazard, here to tell you about BXW. Have you gotten tired of old, boring wrestling? Do you need some underground attitude in your life? Coming from the mean streets of Allentown comes some of the toughest son of bitches in the wrestling world. Featuring men like the Fook Around Champion, Mike fucking Damage. The Child of the Ghetto, Chris Urban. The Grifter, Rad Hazard, as well as many entertaining factions like the unpredictable Nova 6, the always entertaining and vicious Stepdads, and the downright despicable authority figures known as the Radical Movement Elite. But that's not all. We have men like the Blast from the Past, the GBYWN United States Champion, the Ross, GBYWN Hall of Famer, the BXW Inner City Champion, Hybrid, and the BXW Champion himself, Johnnyboy. Witness incredible events like the 12-man finest tournament. Who is the finest in backyard wrestling? The Paul Kunkel Memorial Show, honoring the life of Paul Kunkel. 80s Day. Enjoy this blast from the past, dude. Damn you, North Korea, where it is all out war. And of course, goodbye. The epic finale of the backyard wrestling season. Check out our YouTube page, BXW610, as well as the official BXW Facebook group page. So the next time you're in Allentown, stay out of the dark alleys and join the bright stars of BXW as they shine over, shining as the flagship of the global backyard wrestling nation. Hope to see you there. Fuck!